Marketing, especially in times of crisis, a quite challenging task, what to do, what to avoid, what not to do. And today I'm honored to have an absolute international expert on the topic. Bryony Thomas is in marketing for a very long time, degree with distinction in the area. And with years and years of experience in marketing, I'm sure that we will get valuable advice in the next minutes. Hello, Bryony.
Hi, Niels. Fantastic to be with you.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. We received quite a number of calls and emails from companies who said, look, we know how to do sales, but marketing in these days, we don't really know what to do. Some people tell us we shouldn't do anything and just wait until it's over. Some people say I have to do more than normal, but there are certain pitfalls what I could do wrong. So let's get straight forward to it. What would you advise companies to do right now in these days?
So in a time of real crisis like this, I think the key kind of guiding principle with all your marketing is empathy. So to come at everything you're doing with a sense of how would I like to be treated myself? And I'd say one of the reasons why people find it so difficult to know what to do with their marketing is because they define marketing as lead generation. Whereas
exactly.
I see marketing as supporting the whole sales journey. And so what I would advise people to do is to not focus on awareness and interest, but to do it the other way up. So to focus first on existing customers now more than ever, getting in touch with people who are your existing customers or recent customers to check in with them and be of service.
So now, of course, we might face one problem when let's say a marketing director goes to the board and says, let's not focus on lead generation, but more on empathy. They might face quite strong resistance because people would say, okay, what's the measurable outcome of that? How do you overcome this issue?
Yeah, of course. So, and that's always the challenge, isn't it? So it's the kind of immediate returns as opposed to as opposed to the long-term impact. So I would say focusing on existing customers is about shoring up what you already have. So I have a book called Watertight Marketing, and that's what we refer to as the bucket. So you have a watertight bucket, which is your existing customers. And there's no point doing lead generation if you have a hole in the bottom of your bucket. And so, if your customers, your existing customers are having a really hard time in this crisis, and the way that you're presenting yourself is jarring with them and causing them discomfort, then you're going to have a hole in your bucket. And so lead generation is going to be fruitless anyway. You're going to be spending money on leads that won't convert. The other thing I would say is that your existing customers are your best lead generation anyway. And I would be also very mindful at the moment of connecting with all of the contacts in your customer base on LinkedIn, because a number of them are going to come out of this crisis in different jobs. And so thinking, how do I connect? How do I stay in touch with people? And so rather than thinking kind of organization by organization in a business to business context, do think of the individuals that you've been in contact with in those client organizations and connect with them individually on LinkedIn, because they will be landing in other jobs. And when they land in those other jobs, who are they going to think of? Someone who's treated them with empathy and respect and been of service.
That is a very good point. Getting to what you just said, you said there is a bucket. Well, when I am, of course, not a marketing expert, but I think 90%, maybe 95 or even 99% would tell me there's a funnel. So what do you mean with that bucket metaphor?
So I in the book, I do a complete dissection of a marketing funnel and essentially say that marketing funnels don't exist. What most people have is a colander, because actually what the funnel diagram shows is people leaving the process, which is the opposite of a funnel. A funnel directs everything to one destination, whereas actually a marketing funnel is a diagram that shows a colander, which is people increasingly leaving that process. It's just ironic that we use a word that is the opposite of its meaning. So what I get people to replace that picture with is three areas. So your bucket, and then you move up funnels and filters, because filters are just important to a healthy business, and then apps. So you've got this 3 areas. So bucket is customer service, customer loyalty. Funnels and filters is sales conversions. And then taps is that awareness and interest, the lead generation. And I see marketing having a role in all of those places.
Highly interesting. So how come that this metaphor of a funnel is so present in our today's world? Because normally when I of course speak on a different area, speak on leadership, but when I am a bit early for the events where I speak at, normally I see the picture of the funnel at nearly every event. Why is it that this is so common?
Because it's a really great diagram, and we love to make things tidy in our heads. And it does look like a funnel. You know, the diagram does look like a funnel. It just isn't one. And it drives me a bit nuts, because language is so important. I think when we start to use words often enough, we start to believe that they exist. You know, it's almost self-fulfilling. If you say long enough that there's a funnel, you start to think there is one. And I think that's why lots of people waste money on marketing, because they think they're filling a funnel. But if you've actually got a colander, then what's the point in filling the funnel?
Yeah, that's a very good point indeed. So when I have a bucket, let's get back to that bucket idea. Yeah. Normally people would go to the well, and then just from the well they get the water, which is, let's say, their client. And when you have a hole in your bucket, you normally realize when you arrive at home and the bucket's empty, which might be a bit too late. How can people spot their holes in the bucket?
Yeah, exactly. And that is exactly what happens, because there's a time lag from one step to the next in a sales process. So you may not notice that you're leaking profit until it's too late. So we have an assessment process called the touchpoint leak assessment. So when I first published the book in 2013, I'd done research across about 200 organizations. That's extended now to about 2,000. And what I did is to aggregate all the ways that people leave money on the table. So where are people missing a trick? And it came to 13, so unlucky 13, that there are 13 typical ways that most organizations are missing a trick with their marketing tools, that there is a marketing tool that could do a really good job at that stage in the process. And so we have an assessment process that does a traffic light report across those 13 leaks. And the areas, the buckets, funnels, taps. And that helps people to see where their issues are. And from that, we have a prioritization process that says which one to look at first. Because I think the other problem people have with marketing is there are too many things you could do. It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I've never found that if I said, could you think of more ways to spend money on marketing? Nobody struggles with that. What they struggle with is to think, which of these millions of ways I could spend money on marketing should I spend money on?
Yeah. Is this assessment, because some people, of course, who listen to this might wonder if this assessment is publicly available? Can they get that directly from you? Is it a website, or how do they?
Yeah, so it's in the book. The second edition of Watertight Marketing has just come out. So if you go to watertightmarketing.com, you'll find links to where the book's stocked, and it's stocked on Amazon, etc. And Touchpoint Leaks is the focus of chapter 2. And there is what I've got on the Watertight site is you're able to register for a free course that goes with the book, and there's an exercise for each of the chapters. And the exercise for chapter 2 is a touchpoint leak assessment.
That's nice. So a free course comes with the book. That's a good hint for everyone who thinks about buying the book, which of course they will do after they listen to this. So I'm wrapping this up. If now someone asks you, Bryony, could you give me the top 3 tips, which I should do right now when I go to my boss next week? Which would your top 3 tips would be?
So the first thing I would do is to have a look at your data and look at customers who've already bought from you in a period of time that's reasonably recent for your organization. So perhaps in the last year or 18 months. Have a look at making sure that your customer-facing staff are connected with those individuals on LinkedIn, and come up with something of value for them. So something appropriate to the times that would be genuinely useful to them in the struggles that they're having right now, that you can be providing them, to make sure that you show up on radar and stay as the sort of people they want to continue to do business with and would recommend to others.
Excellent. That is a brilliant final word. So of course I'm going to put Bryony's contact details into the show notes so you can get in contact with her directly. And of course, now I have to say only one thing. Bryony, thank you very much for your time.
Niels, an absolute pleasure.